Got a question here asking if a landlord could prohibit a tenant from installing a bidet. I guess it's been a problem. Hi, my name is Rob Wells. I'm the Landlord War on TikTok and YouTube. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to our videos. Now, this question here actually poses a couple of different issues. A lot of times in a lease or rental agreement, a landlord generally, the leases I've seen, they have a standard provision that any improvements or installation of fixtures, that type of deal, will require the landlord's consent. There's usually like a prohibition from in a lease agreement that will prevent a tenant from doing alterations to the actual rental property without the landlord's consent. Okay. And depending on the type of bidet we're talking about, I know that they have those kits that, you can get on Amazon or whatnot. It's kind of like a toilet seat. You take the seat out, put the bidet in, change the water, the water line out so that it supplies water to the seat, that type of deal. That probably could run afoul, like a no improvement installation of a fixture, that type of deal, without the landlord's consent, depending on what's involved with it. I know a lot of these bidets, the ones with the toilet seats in particular, usually need a power source and the water supply, that type of deal. Definitely putting a power source towards the toilet, it's probably going to run afoul that no installation, prohibition, type of deal without consent of the landlord. Definitely. If we're talking about a standalone bidet, like, I've seen some of those where the bidet is like right next to the toilet, that type of deal, that definitely is going to be like an improvement, that type of deal, if you're installing like a standalone bidet, so to speak. So that's probably, if you have a no installation clause in your lease agreement, you go do that on your own without the landlord's consent, you might be running into a lot of trouble, particularly on a 3-day notice to quit, because if you have a prohibition like that, you can't usually like restore the property back to where it was. That might be considered an incurable violation, depending on, if we, took out a wall and rewired the house, that type of deal, to, put the electricity and that type of deal in there. So I would be very careful if I was a tenant, doing, violating your lease agreement, and you need to read your lease rental agreement to see what the terms and conditions are. But I don't see, if a landlord put a prohibition against installing a temporary bidet, that type of deal, I don't see that runs afoul any type of law or anything like that. The landlord would be within their rights to put in terms of, controlling the use of improvements or installing different various items in their homes. So your mileage is going to vary. Obviously, you're going to need to take a look at the lease and so forth and figure out, what permissions are needed and so forth. So landlords, if you have a situation where, you might have some problematic improvements, things that have been done without your permission, that type of deal, it's probably best that you consult with counsel to look at your lease agreement, that type of deal, to see if there is a material violation of your rental agreement, that type of deal, and see what your options are. There might be some options, like on the toilet seat ones, that give a 3-day notice to perform, to have the bidet removed, or keep the toilet seat the way it was before, that type of deal. But it's always going to be on a case-by-case basis. So landlords, if you're facing this situation, you're in the Northern California area, feel free to reach out. We might be able to help out. Put your comments, questions down below. I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. Until next time, folks, I'll talk to you then. Thanks.